I'm Mikayla Days,
And I'm Malikae Days.
and we are your hosts at the One Soccer Nation podcast. Today, we have the pleasure of interviewing Emma Reagan. Emma is a professional soccer player currently playing for one of the top teams in Denmark, um, HB Køge. I hope I pronounced that right.
Close enough, yeah.
And we actually recently interviewed her teammate Samantha Chang a couple weeks ago. And my sister and I both had the opportunity to play with Emma in the youth Canadian national team programs like years ago. But yeah.
Yeah, Emma, thank you for taking the time to speak with us today. We're so excited to welcome you here to share your journey and motivate others and just inspire everyone about your story. How are you and how are you feeling today?
I'm good. Yeah, thank you for having me on. I'm feeling good. It's actually sunny here in Denmark for
I
once.
know.
So that's definitely, we're having a good day today.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Um,
nice. Yeah.
could you start off by just telling us what age you started playing soccer and why did you choose to play soccer?
Yeah, I started playing when I was 6.
Oh,
Both my parents were pretty athletic growing up, and my dad played soccer, so it was kind of like a natural thing for us to start. I feel like it's a very common sport in Canada for girls, especially. Just everyone kind of starts in soccer, and yeah, I actually, both my younger sisters played as well. And I really loved it. Right off the bat, I think just being kind of an athletic thing to do, blow off some steam, run around, be with friends, all of that I really liked. And I guess at a certain age, it was kind of apparent that I was somewhat good at it and should keep playing. So kind of just stuck with it ever since. And I played other sports growing up, but soccer was always the one I saw kind of taking me the farthest.
Oh, I love that. Like what other sports did you play?
A lot of different ones. I swam. I actually played baseball, and there was no like girls softball team, so I played like boys baseball. I played lacrosse. My dad played lacrosse growing up too, so he eventually kind of got us into lacrosse. And like Americans don't really know, but like box lacrosse, so literally like full pads, like
yeah.
super like high contact, and I loved it. And I really, really loved lacrosse. Like I probably would have kept playing if I could, but it kind of came to a point when I was maybe 13 that I had to pick a sport. It was just too much doing multiple things. So yeah, I did that. I danced for like a week and then I think I quit. That was not for me. Volleyball, basketball, track, and cross country in high school, but nothing like serious. I was definitely more into like the team sport stuff. So soccer was the winner.
Winter, wow. I love that you had a little taste of every little thing, like
Yeah.
dance. Well, not football, sorry, lacrosse, because lacrosse is really big at our school too.
Okay. Yeah.
Like lacrosse is really big. So that's interesting to hear. But going back to soccer, and could you just tell us a little bit about like your recruiting process, like how you were recruited by Texas, the University of Texas, and why you chose to commit there?
Yeah, I was looking at lots of different schools. I was kind of very like open. I was willing to go far across the country. I'm from Vancouver, so like I was willing to go East Coast, but I did look at a lot of schools like in California, more West Coast. And Texas wasn't really on my radar at first. And then I think the coach reached out. She happened to also be Canadian, so I think that was like a good connection and kind of something that we had in common to kind of really start looking at Texas seriously. And then teammate of mine, like all growing up from Vancouver too, Julia, also was getting recruited by them. And kind of we were both like, oh, we actually really both like Texas and maybe this would work if we went together. So that was kind of like an added plus, but I just really loved kind of the whole setup there. It's like a beautiful campus. They have really amazing facilities, and obviously football is huge in the South and Texas especially. So kind of the perks that came along with that and the facilities and the dining halls and the field and everything was so, so nice. So we were definitely spoiled there. And it was also important to me to actually get a good degree and finish college. And so Texas had a really good business school that I wanted to see if I could get into. So ended up doing that. And yeah, it was just a really good overall fit. Ended up being really great 4.5 years with my extra COVID year. So I loved it.
Well,
Yeah, what would you say was your favorite thing being there?
I think just the kind of vibe of the city was really cool. Like, I think a lot of other schools, especially in our conference, were kind of college town, little schools. And so you didn't really get a lot of the like being in a city and all the stuff that comes with that. So I think we definitely like had a lot of fun, and there was like a lake and people, doing everything you could imagine. And so I think I would have been probably bored at a lot of other schools, but that was something not really like on my criteria list when I was picking schools, but it just happened to be a really great fit. And me and my teammates loved Austin, and yeah, it was really a cool place to live for a couple years.
Yeah, I feel like we could relate to that because Maryland had DC like literally like 20
Mhm.
minutes away. So we also had the option to like do stuff outside of the campus and stuff. So I
Yeah,
definitely understand that is a huge part of just having things to do. It
yeah.
you never really thought about it when you were getting recruited, but like after you realize being there for so long, like everything gets so like played out or you're just so used to. But the fact that you have a city, you have so much more things to like explore.
Exactly. And it's like your happiness, your mental health. Like, you don't want to be somewhere that you hate or that you don't want to be at. Like, you're going to play your best, you're going to study your best and perform your best if you're like actually happy where you're living. So yeah,
Yeah.
same. It wasn't on my list either, but it happened to be a really good fit.
Yeah.
it's also like really nice, like just to have things to do outside of soccer, outside of school, like just to get away and just really enjoy yourself, have
Yeah.
fun. That's really nice too. Yeah.
After your so being at Texas for 4.5 years, what do you think was like your biggest lesson? It could be like soccer wise or just in general.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think I definitely changed a lot as a player and a person. Obviously, that's like big, 18 to 21, you're like growing up. So I think I definitely matured a lot. Obviously, I was like living away from home, and I wouldn't say I was like immature before. I always kind of am like an only child, so I kind of had that going for me. But I think I just look back on that like freshman version of me, and I'm like, wow, I can't believe she did that, because I feel like such a stronger, older version of me now. And I actually like went through a lot of different positions on the field when I was in Texas, and kind of finally was able to play like in the midfield where I really loved in my last year. So I think my like evolution of that being like a defender and kind of not really loving it, I kind of had to like go through that struggle and kind of like wait it out to really get to where I wanted to be in my last year. And I think that set me up for everything that I'm trying to do now. Like, it's not going to be easy, and you're going to have to kind of grow and like maybe go through a harder period or do some things for the team that you don't want to do, playing out of position, but kind of all pays off in the end and you get to where you want to be.
Yeah, that's so true. Sorry.
Yeah, I feel like I guess sometimes when you're put out of your comfort zone, like in the moment you're like, oh my gosh, like I don't want to do this, I don't know how I'm gonna do, but like after, like it's kind of worth it because you're like exposed to like just a different part of the field, and you get to see it just from like a different, I guess, point of view.
Yeah, for sure. For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I even thinking just like even well, being put in positions where like you're out of your comfort zone, I honestly feel like that makes you grow like in so many ways. I feel like even when I used to take like communication classes, like I hated talking in front of people, but like the fact that I had to do it, like now I'm like so much well spoken. I'm not afraid to speak in front of people, but just in general, like putting yourself in positions where like it's
Mhm.
uncomfortable for you, like you grow so much, and I feel like that's kind of what you went through as well.
Yeah, totally. I was in probably a very similar communications class where we had to do like speeches and stuff. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think like I know a lot of players like they have the opportunity to go pro right out of high school, and I think that's amazing. But I think the like personal and like world growth that you go through being in college, and like the skills that you learn, like public speaking and stuff like that you don't
Yeah.
really think about, like that just makes you so much more confident and well-rounded. And I'm so glad I did my full degree and like went to Texas and
Yeah.
went to college. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
agree.
I
You
agree.
really
Like
learn
I feel
so
like
much. Yeah.
yeah, sorry, go ahead, Gil.
Go ahead, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I feel honestly, I feel like I've grown so much in like my years of college. Like I feel like if I didn't go to college, I don't think I'd be the person I am today. Like you just learned so many new things about yourself
Yeah.
and yeah, I don't
Even
know.
just like lessons about like life, like just
Yeah.
Yeah.
life, just like friends, making new friends, meeting different kind of people, just like the different situations that you face when you're in college. Because anything, honestly, anything can happen.
Yeah,
But like you definitely learn so much. But yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
And just like going back to the academic side, you were named the 2022 Big 12 conference soccer co student athlete of the year or co scholar athlete of the year. Sorry.
Yeah, that's a long award. They need to shorten that.
Yeah. But like, how did you balance the demands of being an athlete and like your academic like pursuits? Like,
Yeah, it was definitely really hard. I think a lot of like professors and stuff are very helpful and they work with you and they give you, when you're going on an away trip on the weekend, like they're okay with you missing class and they kind of help you along the way, but not all of them. So that was like super hard. And like I said, I really wanted to get into the business school, Macombs at Texas. And so I had to take a lot of like prerequisite classes. I had to take, for some reason, calculus 2, and all of that was like super daunting for me. And so I took that sort of in like the summer, so I didn't have to worry about that while I was really like trying to focus on soccer and in my season. But yeah, I think it's not easy, but it does prepare you. Again, it's like a growth thing that you kind of like have to go through. And I feel like, maybe we're not going to play soccer forever. So anytime we're like in the actual like workforce, whenever that may be, having that on your resume to say, like, I had full school, full class schedule, plus basically like a job playing every day and missing school and all of that is like really impressive. And I think anyone that does that and goes through that in college is better for it. But yeah, there were definitely like long study nights and on the plane, in the hotel room, whatever, you guys did it too. So it's really tough, but I think if you want it and you commit to it, you can make it work.
yeah, I agree because I was a kinesiology and a biology major and taking like organic chemistry,
Yeah.
all those classes during the season, like it wasn't easy. It really wasn't. But
No.
like when you're really committed to something, like you'll make it work.
Yeah.
You'll make it like happen. Like even like just even balancing like your outside, like your social life, and then trying to study and get your homework done. Like it wasn't easy to balance. Like you really had to choose like what is more important. And
Yeah. For
so
sure. And I had really good friends in college that kind of forced me to do the social part of it sometimes. Cause yeah, it's like you have
yeah,
like 3 things to balance. It's too much. It's a
yeah.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like what kind of motivated you to like excel both like athletically and like academically?
I think like as much as we want it to be a reality, women's soccer is not necessarily like a lifelong sustainable career. And I kind of always knew that going into it. I actually kind of had like a period in college where I wasn't even sure if I wanted to play after college. And so I just have always kind of had the mindset to keep my options open and have as many things going for me and set up as I possibly can. And I think my parents kind of pushed me to do, not push me, but instilled that in me to have options and not kind of focus on one thing. So yeah, I think post my soccer career, whenever that will be, I really want to use my degree and potentially something in sports and women's sports. I think kind of along the way, I'm sure you guys have had like processes with like agents and clubs and all of that. I think more women need to be in those discussions and like agents and sticking up for players and working in clubs and having like the player's best interest at heart. And so I think potentially after I'm done playing, that could be something that I go into using my business degree and kind of the experience that I have in sports. So yeah, I think it's just about keeping my options open, but it's also something I think I could be really passionate about and potentially help players like us that come after us.
I love that because yeah, you're literally like going through it, and you have the experience, so you could definitely help other players out there that are trying to do what you're currently doing right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is
What advice would you give to like freshmen and sophomores that are also student athletes, to kind of help them balance demands of academics and playing their sport?
Yeah, I think it's like, I'm not gonna lie, it's gonna be hard. I think if you're a freshman or sophomore, you probably already know that, but I think it's worth it to commit to your studies and to get a degree. You never know what can happen in the future. So obviously, you want to kind of be an athlete, and if you want to go pro, that's going to be your identity. Like, it's great. I'm sure you guys can attest to it too. Having no school right now is just like the best thing ever. And for
Lovely.
us, focusing on soccer is amazing. But when you're a student athlete, you are, the cliche, a student first. So I think it's really important to actually focus on that and take the time. It's only 4 or 5 years of your life. Do it, get your degree. You will not regret it. And then if you make the decision to go pro and that's a reality for you, you will have the time to fully invest in your sport. But yeah, I think it's important if you want to go to college, and you got to do both. And you won't regret it. It'll be fine.
Yeah, no, I agree. I feel like everyone should experience that the college, atmosphere. It's fun. You
Mhm.
meet people that you'll know for the rest of your life, maybe, and like it's just an experience that you'll never forget. And it goes by so fast that sometimes you even look back, you're like, wow, I miss college so much, but
Yeah, the Snapchat memories keep coming
oh
yeah.
up. I'm like sending them to my roommate, like, oh my God.
that's
Yeah,
so
I definitely feel like college is probably one of the best years of your life. So
Oh
I
yeah.
definitely agree with what you were just saying.
yeah, you definitely make some lifelong friendships. Like
Yeah.
even some people that you weren't even close to, maybe you like meet them along the way and you're like, wow, like and you just catch up and like it's like networking. Like college should also be
Yeah.
a
Mhm.
networking source too. So
Yeah. And
yeah.
it's hard, like when you graduate, obviously, and you're going to a school like that where you don't live. Like, we all went to schools in the US. Like, it's tough to stay in touch with people, but like I literally have friends from college that are coming to visit me in Denmark. Like, if I'm ever back in Texas, I'll go see them. Like, if you really like make those relationships, like you will, yeah, it's like networking. You'll see them again and you'll maybe have a connection in the future. But it's just cool. Like, the people that you actually like care about seeing, like you will like continue that friendship.
Yeah, for
And you're
sure.
also like just FaceTiming all the time too.
Mhm.
So you're just always talking to them all the time too. So um can you like discuss your transition from playing at the University of Texas and then going to play professionally in Denmark? Like, how was that shift and how did that impact your approach to the game? Like, did you?
Yeah, I think, like I mentioned before, in college and like through youth teams, I was like more of a defensive player. And I was kind of converted to a right fullback when I started with the national team. I was a midfielder before, and they basically were like, there's so many midfielders, like, you're probably not going to make the team if you become a fullback. Like, we'd love to have you, but like, you've got to switch positions. So I was kind of like, okay, yeah. And then that's where I was like recruited to play in college. And then we had a lot of injuries. And so I was ended up as a center back. No hate to center backs, but I don't love it.
No, I hate it too, and I play. It's
Yeah.
boring. It's boring.
Yeah. It is boring. And my coach, like, I would try to like dribble up and she'd be like, get back there. Like, she was great.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I always like wanted to play in the midfield, but never really got that chance until like later in college. And then when I was getting recruited to play here, they were, talking about like, we really just want like the gritty, like defensive midfielder, and in our team are kind of like really looking for that type of like more 6'8", like holding midfielder. And I was like, okay, great. Like, that's me. I can do that. And got here, and then kind of like, I guess through some injuries and different things, I ended up playing more of like a 10 and like attacking midfielder. So that was like a really interesting transition when I came here. And I kind of started discovering this whole like attacking side to my game that I had always like wanted to have and like started to bring out in college, but like as being a center back, you can't really.
Mm.
So that was super cool. And I think I'm again, like even since graduating college, I think I'm a completely different player and like way more confident going forward. And I think I can bring that like gritty, like, the traditional Canadian like defensive element, which I still love doing. And I'm still going to be like a tough defender. But I think that like transition to more of like an 8 role where I can do that, but also go forward and contribute to the attack and hopefully score goals, set up other people, stuff like that has been really fun. And it's just very cool that I kind of ended up in that position here. And I never would have thought that would be where I'm playing, but I love it. So that's been great.
Oh, that's
Do you
nice.
do you feel like you playing different position has made you more of like a versatile player?
Yeah,
Like,
I think so. I think it also just gives you like different perspectives. Like when you're playing in the midfield and you're like receiving a ball or showing for a ball from the back line, you kind of know what's going through their head. And so I think it helps me kind of support them hopefully as best they can and kind of be on the same page a little bit. Like I think there's a lot of times a disconnect between like forwards and the back line, especially. And it's kind of like, honestly, if you guys could just like switch positions for a day and see what the other person is going through, you would
yeah.
have a lot more kind of like empathy and like help for them. So yeah, I think it's definitely helped me. And there's the odd occasion where I've got to be a defender on this team, and so I can do that. And then, maybe I'm making a run in behind in the same game and getting a ball in the box. So it's just like very cool. I think that's when, again, we're talking about getting out of your comfort zone. That's when you're going to improve, is when you're doing things you're not really used to and like being pushed to do something different. So yeah, I think definitely I'm more versatile now.
That's really interesting because you said that's like different perspectives, and me being an attacker and my sister being like a defender, we're always arguing, saying
Yeah.
like, no, you could have did this. Oh no, you could have did that. But it's just like we just have different perspectives. So once we play in each other's roles, then I feel like then we'll really understand like, oh, okay, that's what she means.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just funny. I just had to mention that. But you also mentioned you faced like some injuries in the beginning. Could you kind of dive deeper into your like what like more about your injury and any challenges that you face and how you overcome them from being in or from starting to play in Denmark?
Yeah, well, I had a really good first year really here, almost year, injury free, and then kind of like really bad timing for me, but I had been like called into a camp last year, right at the end of the year, and was feeling like really good, really confident about my play. And then a week before going to the next camp, I hurt my ankle, and it was just in training and like kind of a freak accident type of thing. But I had like sprained it before. And so I just thought, okay, it's like a bad sprain. I'll be fine. I'll go to camp. And then turns out it was a little bit more than that. And so I got like an MRI and it was fractured and I had some ligament damage and stuff too. So that was really tough. And it was kind of my first like long-term injury. I was in a boot for 6 weeks over Christmas. So that was a lovely family holiday. But yeah, I think it just, even like that injury was only a couple months, and people go through like a lot longer. So I was kind of grateful that it wasn't worse, but you're just like so excited to get back on the field. And even just like running is such a big deal when you get to do it for the first time. So I think it's kind of given me a little bit of a wake up call to have like a greater appreciation for just like even getting to train on a random Thursday. So yeah, that was really tough, but all good now. And it kind of, yeah, it's another lesson. Like I think everything happens for a reason, and I don't really know why that one happened yet, but yeah,
You'll figure out eventually,
yeah,
hopefully.
it'll come eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely understand where you're coming from because I recently was out for like a month and a half. Like my injury was so I don't even know how you would even diagnose this injury. It was like something was wrong with there was like swelling in front of my Achilles, so I was like out for um a month and a half, and, like, I couldn't run. Like, anytime I wore shoes, it would just hurt. Like, even me just wearing sneakers, walking would hurt. I couldn't run or anything. So honestly, just being out, it was just so, like, not let me not say depressing, that kinda is a little drastic, but
A little bit.
it's like, it was really sad, like, not being able to play, and it was before, like, the season was starting, and I just felt like I felt like before I got injured, I was in such a good place, I was in shape, my touches were on point, this and that, and then I just feel like as training was going on, like, I just felt like I was falling behind and falling behind. So, I was just, like, trying to just make sure my head was in the right spot so that when I came back into the field, like, I was at I was at least had a good mindset so that I could, get back into shape and stuff. So I definitely understand like what it feels like to be injured and be discouraged at times. But I think we just have to, keep a positive mindset and know that, it's not the worst injury that you can have, and that you'll be back on the field. Just gotta be patient and wait for your time to come. So I
Yeah.
definitely understand.
Yeah, and the whole like falling behind thing, I totally felt that too. You feel like you're gonna come back and like not know how to touch a ball or pass a ball or
Yeah.
anything. And I'm like, it's only been 3 months, Emma. Like, you haven't forgotten how to like play. It's gonna be
Yeah.
fine. But yeah, in your head, you're like, oh my gosh, everyone's been training this whole time, and I'm gonna be like so unfit. And yeah, I think we like definitely like hype it up in our heads, but
Yeah.
it's never that deep. And we've played for however many years, like
Yeah.
that's not just gonna go away.
Yeah, no, I definitely understand. I feel like as athletes, we like over exaggerate everything in our heads. So it's just like we just sometimes need to center ourselves and remember that we're gonna be okay. Like,
Yeah.
we know how to get back in shape. We know how to get back our touches and all that. So we're gonna be okay regardless, if we get injured for a month or two.
Yeah. And I mean, we talked about how nice it is to be like professional athletes and you don't have anything else going on. But then when you're injured, it's like the only important thing in your
Yeah.
life has been taken away from you. And you're really, really like, I don't know what to do with myself. So it's kind of double-edged sword. I felt that. I was like, oh my gosh, this is my like identity. This is everything. I have
Yeah.
nothing to like I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, it's just like there's nothing to really like push for. And we're just so used to having like practice every day. Like we have to
Yeah.
perform. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
feel
no,
like
it's so
because
true.
now we're just professional athletes. It's just soccer, soccer, soccer. When that's taken away from us, we're like, oh my god, what do I do? Like I don't know what to do. So it's just like, yeah, just getting yourself back centered and just taking it one day at a time, you know. So yeah. Um, so just like from your you've been playing professionally for over a year now, right?
Yeah. About it, almost a year and a half. Yeah.
What has been the hardest thing for you, you think, like from becoming a professional soccer player?
Um, I think it is a little bit kind of what we just talked about. Like your whole day and everything revolves around how you perform at training. And that can be like a very slippery slope. And I think, in college and stuff, we kind of had other things to fall back on. And it wasn't just about your sport, but here it's like, okay, am I starting? Am I making this camp? And when like that doesn't happen, it seems really, yeah, it seems like a really, really big deal. And so I think for me, balancing like making camp and all of that is not the end of the world. And I think I really realized that in college. Like I'd been called in my freshman year and then wasn't called in for a really long time. And I just came to terms with it. I was like, you know what? Life goes on. If I make it, I make it. If I don't, I'm having a great time here at Texas. I'm playing, I'm in my classes. But here, like you go on international break when there's like, so there's training, but there's no games. There's nothing really that you're missing. So you feel like, oh, I should be going there, or I really want to be going there. There's nothing like here that I'm missing. So I think that's tough. But I think for me, my mindset has always stayed that like, it's awesome if I'm involved in that, but like I know that I'm gonna play my hardest and show up at training regardless. Like I still have things to play for. There's still lots of years left in my career. Anything can happen. So I think it's that, like, not really getting ahead of myself to like push to be on the national team right now or be, whatever the goal is next. Kind of just like taking it day by day, being grateful that I get to go to training every day, that I have games, that I'm on a team that I really like, and I'm performing and getting better. I think it's that, and that's kind of the only mindset you can have. I think when you like focus on it too much, it's just, if you get let down, that's like everything and you're really not going to recover. So that's been kind of the biggest struggle that I think I've come to terms with now, and that's my mindset going forward.
Yeah, I definitely understand that. I feel like sometimes we always are so focused on accomplishing like our goals and stuff, but we forget to just live in the now and enjoy like the experience. So I feel like over the years I've also learned to like I've also learned that like the national team will come. Like I before, like when me and my sister were trying out for the World Cup, we didn't make the team, and I was like, oh my God, like we were like freaking out about it. But then I realized like when our time, like my time is gonna come one day, and if I'm really meant to be and represent Jamaica in the World Cup, like my time will come. So I just we just kept working and working, and then all of a sudden, a year or two later, we got a call up and we were on the team. So it's just like remembering that, if you keep putting in the work and stuff, like your time's gonna come and you know, what's that saying? What you are is what you attract, something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. I feel like the things that you want,
Mhm.
you'll attract them and they'll come to you eventually, So yeah, I definitely understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I agree. I just feel like everyone wants to play for their national team, and just those times that you don't get selected, it does like bring you down a little. It's just like a bummer, but you just have to continue pushing because you can literally get called at any time. You just have to be ready, and then you just have to show up, show out, and show your best, and show them that you deserve to be here in those moments. So I feel
Yeah.
like that's what really like matters the most, is like showing up when you really need to. um,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's
Yeah.
all.
For
Yeah.
sure. I mean, the last camp I went to, I was literally called in like right before there was an injury. So it's just like, yeah, you can't be like down on yourself that you didn't make it, because you could still, like, there's anything can happen.
Any
Right.
anything at any moment, literally.
Yeah. Literally 5 minutes before your flight, they can
Yeah.
call you. Like that's pretty much what happened to me.
So
No, literally. You just always have to be ready. Always have to be ready. But
sad.
when you got called for the Canadian national team, I think after 5 years, right?
Mhm.
What emotions did you experience and like could you just tell us like what thoughts you were going through at the time?
Yeah, I think, like I said, I kind of, after like not being called in for a while, I was like, you know what? Yeah, like I wasn't really ready. I was 18. I was in like the middle of college, missing games. Like I was called out of our like conference season. So that was really tough. And I think, yeah, I just knew that in the span of those 5 years, I had grown so much and I was a completely different player. I was playing a different position. I was now a professional athlete. Like there were just so many changes that I had gone through. And I had taken the pressure off myself of like making the camp and getting called in. And I was just totally fine with it for that entire period of 5 years. I had come to terms with it. So then when it happened, I was like, I felt really like this mindset that I really was just going to go in with confidence, and whatever was going to happen was completely fine. And I wasn't going to put any pressure on myself, because that's what I had done before when I was that 18-year-old kid trying to, play with all these older players that were like my idols, all this stuff. So yeah, I would just went in camp like, yeah, I can do this. There's nothing wrong with this. I can compete with these players. I played with these players, in youth teams. I know them. I'm much more like confident and strong and grown up now. Like this is the environment that I'm supposed to be in. I'm a professional. Like no one can take that away from me. And so yeah, I just went in with like this really great, like no pressure mindset. And I think that's what allowed me to do well there. And yeah, I was able to start the second game. They kind of gave me the chance, like, you've come in after such a long time, done well, like you seem like you're fitting in, and kind of that mindset that I had tried, like you said, like you are what you attract, whatever
Yeah.
that saying was. Like I did that and they were like, yeah, you can do this, girl. And I was like, okay, great. So yeah, it was just a really like eye-opening experience, because I had told myself for all this time, it's totally fine if you get in, you're gonna do it. And then I went in and did it. And so it was really like validating as a player to know that that is the level that I can like step up to. Because when you're training in your club team, like I feel like we kind of, Denmark is a good league, but it's like an up and coming league. Like I don't feel like, oh, I play in Denmark, like, and
Yeah.
all these players are like playing in England and the NWSL. And so I think I always saw myself as like at a lower level, but then I went in there and I could do it and I was at that level. So I think it was very eye-opening, and it just showed me that like all the work that I've done, the mindset that I have is working, and it's gonna like get me to that level. And maybe it'll take another couple years to really like cement myself in the team, but that's the goal. And so, that mindset has worked and I'm not gonna change it now.
Yeah, I love that mindset. I feel like when you just allow yourself to, let go of all the pressures and just trust yourself, and even when you were saying about having confidence, I feel like it brings you like your performance to a whole different level. And so I feel like even me when me and my sister were trying out for the World Cup, I was putting so much pressure on myself. Like I was like, you have to make this like da like this is your time to shine. I was like putting so much pressure on myself, and I feel like that's what also like kind of deteriorated my performance. And then the next time we got an opportunity, I just allowed myself to be calm and confident. And I'm like, I put all the work in. Like all you gotta do is play and just relax. So I definitely understand like where you're coming from about just being confident and like just trusting yourself.
Yeah.
uh, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like we're all capable of playing at that level. And like when we're
Yeah.
playing on like our college team or we're training on our club team, like you're not like showing up to practice like, oh my gosh, I have to like prove myself to this coach and
Right.
like do like seven, like make 7 goals, do this, do that. Like that's not the mindset. But when you're like on the national team, it kind of feels like a tryout almost, when you like haven't been in for so long. And if you go in with that mindset, like, okay, I need to like prove myself, I need to show all of this, like you're gonna be tense and clam up and not have the confidence. So yeah, it's just, I was like, this is any other practice, just some different players, some Canadian legends, no big deal.
Right.
Gonna like go train and that's gonna be that. And like, yeah, I think that's like the best mindset you can have, is just let it go. What will happen will happen. And that's not to say you're not like putting in 100% and trying your best. Of course you are, but it's just letting go of the outcome and just going for it.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah, no,
I
I
it's
agree.
like living in the moment and really just trusting all the hard work that you put in is gonna show like in those moments. Yeah, because I feel like I used to be the kind of person like also too just saying you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to be locked in. It's just like just relax. Like honestly, just soak it all in and like just play. Like I just feel like that's the best way to go about it. Because putting so much pressure on yourself, yeah, it's definitely just gonna deteriorate your performance and kind of psych you out mentally. And yeah,
Yeah.
I would say.
So yeah, let's go back to you being at HB Køge. How do you pronounce it?
It's really hard. It's like HB Køge.
HB
You kind of have to
Køge.
like mumble a bit at the end.
Yeah.
It's kind of like cur, but like you just kind of like, I don't know if anyone's told you, but like Danish is like talking with a potato in your mouth. Have you heard
Oh
that?
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
you
yeah,
kind of like don't pronounce stuff. I don't want, I just try to talk really fast and like in front of the Danish girls and like hope they don't hear my pronunciation.
That's so funny.
yeah. Going back to that, what do you think? Oh, you scored your when you scored your first goal for HB Køge. What was like, how did that feel? And like, can you describe the emotions that you were facing during that game and what that meant to you?
Yeah, well, I had actually missed a sitter the game before. It was like we were playing Fortuna, and it was, I mean, Fortuna's a really good team, but we were playing really, really well and just couldn't find the back of the net. And at the time, like I was playing kind of like a 10 role, so I was kind of feeling the pressure to score and like produce for the team. I kind of never had that pressure in my career. I was always like the more defensive one, and like, we'll let the forwards deal with the goals. But yeah, I kind of had, I think, going back to what we just talked about, put the pressure on myself to like perform, and that was not a great mindset to have. And so I just went into the next game like a little more relaxed, a little, we were playing a good team on a really bad pitch, and it was just like not the prettiest game. But I got like a weird kind of cross that came in the box. It was deflected, and I just took a touch and like hit it. And honestly, I don't even think I looked up at the goal before. I'm not gonna lie. And it went in. And yeah, I was so excited. It was a huge relief, I think, to know that I could do that and I could score at the professional level. I can be an attacker and like contribute for my team. And yeah, so I think it gave me a lot of confidence. And I can't say that I've scored a lot of goals, but I think I'm not afraid to like put myself in those positions now. And this season I'm playing more of like a defensive midfielder or like an 8 role, so I'm not in those positions as much. But anytime I am, I try to focus on getting my shots on net, and maybe if there's a rebound or something, great. But yeah, I think my team has always had really strong forwards, and sometimes we go through spells of not scoring as many goals, and then you kind of look to yourself like, okay, like step up, score some goals. And yeah, as we talked about, that's like not the mindset to have. It's just play, relax, and they'll come. So yeah, it was very cool, but hopefully I can score some more this season. We kind of need them.
That's great. I feel like I could also relate to, well, me, I'm an attacker, so I'm kind of, that's kind of my job. But I
Mhm.
can just relate to the emotion, just the emotions of scoring your first goal at that level, like just seeing, wow, like I could really do this. And it kind of just like motivates you, like, oh my gosh, I want to feel this emotion more, and you want to score more goals. So yeah, I can definitely like relate to that.
Yeah.
Um, and like winning the league title with HB Køge in like your debut season last year. Congratulations to you
Thank
on that
you.
significant achievement. What do you think contributed to, or what do you think you contributed to the success of the team, and how do you feel like that title like impacted your growth as a player?
I mean, I came in the middle of the season and they were already in first, so I can't take a lot of credit. But I think, yeah, it was very like cool, but it was like, okay, that's like the bar that's set. And we've won the last 3 years. So it's kind of like win or bust. Like that's like the expectation of the city, of the club, and everything. And so I think, yeah, it's a great feeling, but there is the pressure to kind of do it again. And I think this season and even previous seasons, the competition has been so good. I think the Danish league is getting better and better, and there's so many good like, younger Danish players that are coming up that are doing so well and bringing so much to the league. So yeah, I think it's a good problem to have that there's a lot of competition. But and we'd love to recreate the win this year too, but we'll see. I think we have 5 games left, so there's time.
Understand. Can you also describe what it was like playing in Champions League?
Yeah, that was really cool. We had a bit of a premature exit that I don't want to get into, but no, we played one of like the best halves ever that we played, the first half of our first Champions League game, and we were up 1-0, amazing feeling, like just really dominating with the ball. And I think we were all confident, just happy to be there. We got like a really good crowd. I think there were maybe almost over 1,000 people at our stadium watching us. So it was just a really cool atmosphere. And just to say you've played in Champions League is really, really cool. So I loved it. We ended up losing the game, but yeah, it was a really cool experience. And I think it just like having a taste of it just once you do it, it makes you want it more. So I think that's definitely the goal for this year and like any future teams that I play in. I want to be like on a team that competes in that championship because it's just an unreal thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like Champions League, just even having the opportunity to play in Champions League, I feel like that is such a like a great accomplishment because it's
Yeah.
like the best of the best. So
Mhm.
that's just like a great experience just play against those kind of players and those kind of teams. So just kudos to you, girl.
Hopefully I can get back there again. Yeah, it was really cool.
You will. You definitely
Yeah,
will. So
you
you played in Champions League. You've won the league title. What do you think? And playing with HB Køge, being like one of the top teams in Denmark, like what do you think they've taught you like on and off the field?
I think on the field, I'm like I said, I'm really a lot more confident player now. And I think confident in my like just like fundamental, like my touch, everything. I think in Europe, the like that side of it, like your technique and all of that is so important. It's so different to like an NCAA or like the NWSL where it's a lot more about like athleticism and physicality and stuff like that. And I think European soccer has really like improved all my kind of small area, small tight touches, all stuff like that. So I think I've really grown in that area. And I think as a midfielder, that's super important. Like to have the athleticism and all that is great. And I think I will always kind of carry that in my game, but to build that level. And I've always been a player that wants to play possession and play nice and be clean on the ball and all of that. But I think just the emphasis here is so important and at training, and that's like 80% of what we do at training. So I think that's like been really, really important for me in my game. And then I think off the field, it's just been very cool to live in Europe. I'm sure you guys can relate. It's just a completely different experience. And anyone that's like, oh yeah, like what are you doing now? And I get to say that I like live in Denmark and I'm a professional athlete is so cool. So I think I want to continue playing in Europe as long as I can. It's been so fun and the vacations you get to take and oh let me just like take a quick 1 hour flight and I'm in a completely different country, like that's so cool. So I really love the culture of it here too.
No, you spoke about just what like your experience like living in in Europe. I can attest to that. Like I just love the fact that you can everything is kind of just so close together. You can take a train, you can take a flight, and you're just
Mhm.
in a whole different part of Europe, and it's just so cool that you can experience that.